Good afternoon, gang. Happy Thursday afternoon. So we're going to get into something here that, again, you know me, every once in a while I get a little wonky with you guys when we get into the economics of some of this stuff, just so you're a little more aware of what's going on. Now, for those of you that have been around with me here for, the better part of the last 9 months to a year or whatever, you know my background and you know what I'm watching as economic signals. Okay. And the big one is the 10-year Treasury. We talked back in the spring about 1.75% being a critical point for the US government and 2% being, oh my God, look out below. All right. Well, we all know about inflation. Okay. Don't have to tell you anything about that. We see that every time we go to the store. And for the most part of summer, the interest rates on the 10-year Treasury have dropped significantly. They were down in the 120s or something like that. Well, very recently, within the last week or so, the interest rate on the 10-year Treasury has bounced up to 1.67% as of 12:47 Eastern Time here on Thursday. Okay. Like I said, 1.75 is where you go, oh crap, what's going on? Now, what does that mean? Okay, that's the interest rate that the U.S. government is paying to Treasury note holders, basically for the government to borrow money, which is all they do anyway. Okay, it's not like they have anything. Well, as the more money the government borrows, the more of our tax dollars have to go to pay to service that debt. So then the less money the government has to spend, the more they have to borrow. And it's a snowball effect, which of course leads to printing money, which leads to inflation. This is why I say you guys need to watch this and how we could very quickly turn into Venezuela, and you all need to be prepared for it. Now, just so I can put some numbers to this, guys, so you can kind of understand the scope of what I'm talking about. This year, 2021, the federal government will spend about $300 billion on interest payments. Okay, not on paying any principal, just paying the interest, $300 billion. That's about 9% of all the tax money that's collected by the IRS every year. Okay, so now think about if you were doing that in your household budget and 9% of your income went to just pay the interest on anything. Okay, to give you an idea how much that's costing you, it's about $2,400 per household of your tax money, whatever you pay in income taxes, just goes to pay the interest on the debt. It doesn't go to pay anything else. All right. So now this is where I say you got to watch this. As interest rates rise, the cost of the debt service goes up. You got to pay more interest on Treasury notes that we put out. Obviously, you guys know this. You get a mortgage, a car note, whatever it is, that's at 3%. Okay, your payment's here. If the interest rate is 5%, you're paying more. Go back to 2008, 2009, when everybody was getting adjustable rate mortgages, and because interest rates were so low on the ARMs, and then when interest rates went back up, everybody defaulted. Okay, now instead of talking about at a individual, the population level, now we're talking about a government level. Okay. Now, give you this. If interest rates went up 1%, instead of paying $300 billion in interest on the national debt, the government would be paying $530 billion. That's more than the cost of Medicaid. Okay. If we went up 2%, it would be $750 billion. That's more than we spend on defense or Medicare. Okay. We went up 3%, $975 billion. That's almost as much as spent to pay Social Security each year, guys. Okay. You hear all these stories. We got to cut this. We got to cut that. We got to cut this. This is why, as interest rates go up, this is where inflation comes in and benefits get cut. We have no choice but to pay the debt holders, the bondholders, okay? Whether the bondholders are China, whether the bondholders are the banks, whether the bondholders are your 401k, okay? If you've got any fixed income funds, in your 401k, any bond funds, you own U.S. Treasuries, okay? So all of that has to get paid somewhere. If there isn't the money, they can't pay that debt. So what do? They print more money. God knows we've seen that for the last couple of years, to pay off the debt, to service the debt, which causes inflation. Okay, this is the problem, guys. Our economy is in dire straits. I'm not telling anybody anything we don't know. All right, you can't go below zero. Getting interest rates down to zero. As much as the Fed's like, oh, we're going to reduce interest rates, we're going to reduce interest. You can't go below zero, and we're damn close to it now. All right. There's a couple of countries in Germany that had negative, I think it was Germany, had negative interest rates. Okay, let's think about the logic of this. I've got $100 and I'm going to go put it in my savings account. And I'm going to pay the bank to hold my money. That's negative interest rates. No, I'll stick it in the mattress and it doesn't cost me anything. Okay, so that's why negative interest rates don't work. Well, also the government can't borrow any money if they're not paying any interest. Who's going to loan the government money if they go, sure, I'll give you my $100, and not that you can buy bonds for $100, but I'll give you my $100, and in return, in 5 years, you're going to give me my $100 back. Maybe you do that loaning money to your friends, but I sure as hell ain't doing it with government, okay? They're going to pay me something for using the money. Because God knows if I go to the bank to borrow money, the bank's not saying to me, hey, Pinball, no problem. Just in 5 years, come give me my $100 back. That ain't going to work. Yeah. This is what's going on, guys. Now, where it gets scary is we're getting close to that first threshold at 1.75% on the 10-year note, where all of a sudden our debt obligation gets scary high to the point where how do we get more money? Okay. Granted, all right, interest rates are historically low. But a lot of you guys are old enough to remember the 70s and 80s where we had damn near 20% interest rates. You can even go back to the turn of the century, Y2K, and we dropped down to about 5% at that point. That's on a 30-year note, okay? Imagine if we go back to that again. That's when the government goes, all the money we're collecting in income tax, we're using to pay the interest on debt. This is how you turn into Venezuela, guys. This is why it is so important to have a hedge against inflation. Gold, silver, real estate, something, okay? Rudy talks about it. I've talked about it ad nauseum. If interest rates keep going up, the government, like I said, has to borrow money to pay the debt. We're in trouble. You can't rob Peter to pay Paul. You can't borrow your way out of debt. But that's what the government's trying to do. $3.5 trillion more? Really? Where's that coming from? It's coming from you. It's coming from me in regards to everything's more expensive. It's inflationary. That's all it is, guys. They can say all they want about $400. Nobody who makes less than $400 or $400,000 a year is going to get their taxes raised. Go to the store. That's the effect of them borrowing money. You're not getting your taxes raised. You're just paying more for everything. Your taxes aren't going up. The value of your dollar is going down. Okay? I've mentioned many times, look at the Weimar Republic. Look at Venezuela. That's what's coming. And it ain't far off, guys. Like I said, 1.75 is the tipping point. We get to 2, forget it. We go past that, you're looking at hyperinflation. That's how close we are right now to complete and utter financial chaos in the United States. Told you, it's going to get a little wonky. Have a good Thursday afternoon. I just wanted to kind of educate you guys a little bit on some of this. Have a good one. Pinball out.